Hello everyone, and delighted to be here with you and to greet you all and see many of your greetings in the chat, and thank you. There's a fascinating teaching that maybe came from the Thai meditation teacher Ajahn Chah. I'm not sure the origin of it. But that is the idea that has to do with sound, any kind of sound. And the idea is that sounds never bother us, but we bother sounds. And how I understand that is that sounds are just sounds that go through, but the problem, the botheredness, where we get bothered, has to do with our reaction to it, our reactivity, and ideas around it. There are exceptions to this, of course. People are highly sensitive, or sounds that are just so glaringly painful that it seems like they hurt our ears. There are other things, but generally, this idea that sounds are kind of neutral, and this is particularly true with the words people speak. The meaning of the words might not be neutral, but the words as sound are neutral. And somewhere in the ears that hear the sound, between the sound and the ears, there's something that gets involved. Something happens there. A meaning is assigned. Memory is about the words and the meaning come into play. The relationship we have to the person who's speaking them comes into play. Predictions of the future and what those words might mean. And then it becomes this complicated world in the middle of which there is some place we get knotted, we get entangled, we're caught in it. We're hanging on to that branch on the edge of the river as we canoe down. So to learn the art of not being knotted up, not being reactive to our senses, is one of the great arts of mindfulness practice. It doesn't, of course, mean that we are oblivious or indifferent to what happens in the world. It means that we can come into kind of a balanced place or a free place where our response is a response, not a reaction. Where we can see clearly what our inner ideas, thoughts, impulses are, and choose wisely how to act, including not giving into knotting up, getting entangled with it all. So to hear sounds. And so this is true with all our sense doors. It's the eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, and the body. And today I'd like to focus on the body and this kind of ability to discern the sensations in the body, the knowing of the sensation, and the entanglement that we might get involved with it. So to begin, you might just very simply close your eyes and find and some of you have done this before, but please do it again. So find a neutral place in your body. And it could be the hands. Maybe the hands are touching each other, or the hands are touching your thigh or your knees. And find a neutral spot in your body. And some place where you're not so likely to get entangled or have a lot of opinions or ideas. But that you can feel, the sensations are there. And feel the sensations in that part of your body. So if it's in the hand, feel the pulsing, the tingling, the vibration, the warmth, the coolness. Feel how the sensations might be different in the fingers, in the palm, in the back of the hand. And then as you're aware of the sensations in your body in this neutral place, how neutral are you? Are there judgments, ideas, for or against the sensations or the attention with the sensations? Is there reactions? And now, as you exhale, relax your whole body best you can. Soften the body. Soften the mind as you exhale. Settling into just being here, putting aside ideas of what you have to do or should do, in favor of the exhale, where you let go, relax, settle. Breathing in and breathing out, relaxing and softening. And maybe you can't let go of everything, but maybe you can soften the tensions in the mind, soften the places of anxiety, of desire, of ill will. Or maybe simply the strong tendency to think. On every exhale, relax, settle, soften. Doing it gently, maybe even kindly. Relaxing and softening on the exhale. And relaxing on the exhale. And seeing if you can be gentle and receptive to the inhale. With no ambitions. No standards that you're measuring yourself against. And allowing yourself to be aware. of the inhale in whatever way it happens. On the exhale, letting go into the exhale, as if you're letting go into the very end of the exhale, to where things become quiet and still before the inhale begins. And as you're with your breathing, the sensations of the body breathing, notice if there's any ways in which you're knotted or entangled, reactive, caught up in some idea or preference about the breathing. And appreciate that that is your addition, the extra part to breathing. It's possible to breathe with no entanglement necessary. But if there is, know it as entanglement, know it as a knot. Gently, softly, non-judgmentally. But perhaps softening it as you exhale. with the mindfulness, attention hanging out with your breathing. And if there's any reactivity, any ways that you are caught or entangled in breathing, bothered by breathing, bothered by anything, let that be part of the bigger picture of what you accompany as you accompany the present moment, as you accompany breathing. Not being bothered even by being when you're bothered. Just knowing it and breathing. If you are lost in thinking, chances are that there's some kind of subtle or big ways in which you are caught in it, entangled, knotted. Can you relax the knot, untie it? And if you can't, that's okay. Just know it. Just know that you're knotted and caught, and continue breathing with it, through it. Let breathing be your support that either frees you from being caught or gently highlights that you are. And if you are, don't be bothered by it. Breathe with it, gently, softly. sooner or later in the practice of meditation, we can become mindful enough to notice how we get caught up in things, entangled and reactive to things we see, things we hear, things we smell, things we taste, things we feel in the body, things we think, things we emote. And at some point, we begin having a new relationship to those entanglements, those attachments, the way we're caught up. And that is one that we don't no longer believe in the value of being entangled and caught. We know there is something better. And we know it doesn't work to get entangled in our entanglements, to be reactive and bothered by the ways that we are bothered or reactive. And this begins to give us a taste of freedom. The freedom of leaving things alone and not being further entangled. Just knowing what's happening. And this ability is invaluable in our social lives. To be able to not give in or stay caught or behave, speak from our reactivity, but to see it and be able to stay balanced, relaxed, clear. And if we can do that, or as we begin doing this better and better, it becomes clear, more obvious, that the practice we're doing is beneficial for others. It frees them from our reactivity. And may it be that this practice does in fact support and help others, maybe all beings. May it be that this community of ours, with so many people coming here in 7 a.m. sitting, that collectively we are making a difference in the world, that in known and unknown ways we spread peace, safety, happiness, and freedom. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be free. And may each of us contribute to this being possible. So, my friends, there's a delightful, for me, little teachings in Buddhism that it's possible to become omniscient. But it's not what maybe you think. That it's possible to know something about everything. And what is it that that omniscience is that it's not worth clinging to anything. So now we know something about everything with a certain kind of omniscience. So, but kind of continuing on this theme of some kind of omniscience, for our human experience, all human experiences we have, no matter how sophisticated and complex they are, have a common denominator, and that is we know it through one of the 6 sense doors. The ancient analogy from the time of the Buddha was that if you had a walled city with only one gate coming into the city, then a guard would be at the gate and could watch everyone coming and going and would decide who can come in and who can go out. If there were 6 gates, then there might be 6 guards who are doing the same thing. So we have 6 doors, 6 gates, which all experiences that we process, that we take in, that we use to understand our life and all that. And we have 6 doors, 6 gates, and that's seeing, the gates of the eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, the tactile body, and then the mind door, that from which we kind of observe or know what's happening in the mind. And so we take in the data from these, the sense data, the experiences, and then somehow we process it, we do something with it, and sometimes we build whole universes with it. There's a story, a Chinese story of a painter, very realistic painter, who painted very realistic paintings, and he was up close painting a tiger, and involved in the details. But at some point he stepped back some feet to look at it. It was so realistic, he became frightened and he ran away. So we ourselves, our mind is constructing stories, ideas, memories, predictions of the future, meaning, elaborations, ideas, creativity, poems and songs, and all kinds of things our mind creates. And we can live in that inner world, but and get lost in it. But in Buddhist practice, what we're trying to do is live at the doors. Be mindful of things as they appear and occur in the present moment at each of the sense doors. And the reason for that is if you do that, then you know something about everything. You know the common denominator. Everything that's going to happen is going to be built on those things coming in from those sense doors. And if you can be there and see at that point what the reactivity is, the clinging, the resistance, how we relate to it, it gives us a tremendously wonderful vantage point in which to live a wise life, to not get caught up in the entanglements and reactivity and build universes of tigers that frighten us, because we just kind of not there at the start, the beginning point. And in some ways, our life is always beginning over. And so to bring ourselves into the sense doors and really be present for it, we're there at the start of the life. It's always starting in the present, starting over again and over again. And so to be able to get right there and see it. Now remember that in these teachings that we're doing now, in the 6 sense doors and the entanglement to them, we're coming near the end of a long series of practices of the Satipatthana Sutta. So this is not a beginner's practice. This is something that we can begin to do when we've gotten quiet and still enough, or focused, mindfulness is strong enough, we can really stay there and see it. And the advantage of doing so is like this. And we have a garden with garden beds, and And so I'm kind of responsible for it right now because my wife is away. She's usually the gardener. And one of the flower beds is overgrown with maybe 1.5 foot tall, mostly I think, oat grass, and or some kind of tall grass, and all kinds of other weeds, and it's packed in the flower bed. You know, all these must be very fertile, the bed, because it's just like bursting forth and overwhelming. You know how thick it's full of weeds. We have another bed that where there's some onions and some lettuces and things, and and there is not so much. There's almost no weeds at all. The lettuce and the onions are growing nicely, and there's space between them. And there, if a weed arises, I see the little weed coming up out of the soil, and I'm not overwhelmed by that. I come over and pull it out, and it doesn't grow to be a big weed to crowd out what we're trying to grow there. So, so the same thing with our mind. If we haven't weeded our mind for decades, it can be crowded and overgrown with all kinds of weeds. And it takes a while to relax and settle and calm down to the point where we start seeing the beginning of a weed, the beginning of the entanglement. And if we see at the beginning of it first arising, then we can let go of it. We can pull it out by the roots and put it in the compost pile. And and so this is part of, as practice deepens and we have the ability to be much more present, and we trust being present more than we trust the thinking and predicting and planning and remembering and reviewing and having conversations or having fantasies. We trust being in the present moment. Things become clear enough. Our flower beds become clear enough. We see the beginning of a weed arising, a beginning of a reactivity arising. And that is a powerful place to be. Because if you see it arise, then it's easy to let go of it or not participate or let it be. And it's possible to let it be and let it go and not see it, know you're not going to pick it up again. And this is the instructions for this particular part of the Satipatthana Sutta. It is to know the sense door, know, like today we're talking about the body, know the tactile body, know the sensations of it, the touch, the object of the tactile experience, know the arising of an entanglement, know letting it go, and know that you're not going to pick it up again. So that's really the exercise of this part of the Satipatthana Sutta, is to be able to be present for the sense experience and to see the beginning of attachment, the beginning of clinging, reactivity, and to be able to put it down. If you can't put it down, it's powerful. Just let it be. Don't pick it up. Don't get involved. And then know you're not going to get involved again, at least this time around. And this keeps us in this beautiful, wonderful place of freedom. Keeps us in this place where maybe we're kind of amused or delighted or relieved when we see an attachment arise, a clinging and entanglement arise. Because we know we're not going to get entangled to the entanglement. We're not going to react to the reactivity. But rather we're going to see the beauty, the wonderfulness of being aware of its arising. That there it is. And it can be, for some people, kind of amusing, kind of delightful, kind of faith. It can give birth to a lot of faith and confidence that, I'm starting to get annoyed. I'm starting to be frustrated, and there it is. Here's me wanting it to be different. Here's me wanting it to stay forever. There's that little clinging going on. And we say, oh wow, there's the clinging. And there's a kind of just joy in knowing we're not going to get involved and knowing that there's freedom and space around it. It's a very different relationship to clinging and reactivity than, oh no, this is terrible, I shouldn't be doing this. So the sense doors. And so today I talked about the tactile sense door of things touching our body. And that can be physical things outside, but also from the inside out. There's kind of sensate experience the body can reveal. So today I would encourage you to spend more time with mindfulness of your body, and discover both the delight of being grounded in your body, maybe, but more importantly for this exercise today, look at and see how you're entangled, judgments, expectations, disappointments with the body, how you compare your body to other bodies, or to how you were before, or how you might be in the future. All the ways you get entangled. And see if you can notice the entanglement with such clarity that maybe you're delighted or amused, or maybe you're relieved that you see it. See if you can find a different way of relating to the bad news of being reactive and entangled, where mindfulness, clear mindfulness, brings a different way of relating. Mindfulness of the body. It's a way of becoming friends with your body when you stop the reactivity